Okay. Okay. All right. But maybe next time with the phone, right? Oh no, is it working now? Look. I think it's working. All right, look now. It takes a minute. Do you see
Oh,
it?
cool. It's working.
Okay. But like in that one, I don't know if they can see me on that. You see what I'm saying? Like
I'm
it's
just
it's
getting my pyramid.
like, can people oh, they can see me. Holy shit. Okay. Yeah, it is. Okay. Hey, just want to thank everybody for joining us today on our AlignUs Live podcast. For those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Nikhil Sharma, the founder of AlignUs and Align Foundation, and just so grateful to be here with you guys. The purpose of our community is to just help support each other and help raise the vibration of the collective. We've been going through some really dark times in society, and our mission is to help each other get through those dark times and turn that pain into power, because that truly is the key in life. As you know, we're going to go through some dark times in this lifetime. We're going to have some spiritual depression, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And it's important for us to recognize those signs, those symptoms of when we're in that cloud, that fog, feeling like we're a little lost, but utilizing that as a reframe, as a signal from your body and your mind to being like, yo, let's wake up a little bit, and something's not connected. And so we love that you guys are here. Really grateful for it. If you have any questions to the podcast, please feel free to ask them. And it's all about love, unconditional love, and us going after every single dream we possibly have, and being unapologetic about it, because that's what we're here to do, is to create at the highest level. We have Taylor today, who's going to be our super guest, and let's get this podcast rolling. All right, welcome to the AlignUs Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nikhil Sharma, and I'm so grateful to have you guys here with us today. Over the past couple of years, I made the transition from working as a physician in the hospital to creating mission-led businesses that are based in the foundation of mental wellness, emotional wellness, and charitable giving. During that journey, I've come to a realization that we can be super successful on the outside while at the same time be suffering on the inside. And that's why I'm really excited about today's topic. Joining us today, and we're welcoming back the excitement whisperer, the author of The Best Life Ever, transformational coach, Taylor Wells. Welcome, Taylor.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, look, today we're going to be talking about spiritual depression, not clinical depression, but how we can differentiate those two. What is spiritual depression? How does it show up? And how can we heal it at its soul level? So, Taylor, let's start here. How would you define spiritual depression, and how does it differ from, say, clinical depression or emotional depression?
Okay, so first of all, welcome to everyone, as Nick said, Dr. Nick said, and I have a lot of very clear beliefs that are my own, and I always invite you to take what you prefer and resonate with and leave the rest. Okay, so everything I teach, coach, and most importantly, live is about being your authentic self. So I'm going to say some things that you maybe have never heard that may seem a little bit different than sociocultural definitions of depression. And as Dr. Nick is also calling it, spiritual depression. So my intention and knowing is that you've shown up with an open mind and open, unconditional heart, and you'll take what you prefer, put it in your back pocket, and off you go. Whatever works. Okay. So, and also, I'm not a medical doctor. Say that. Okay. So, so Dr. Nick is calling it spiritual depression, which I really love. I'm going to first of all define the way that I personally, Taylor Wells, define depression. Okay. So I'm not calling it clinical, spiritual, or anything else. I'm just going to give you a different word that I use in my life, in my coaching, in my teaching, in my writing. And I call it compression. Okay. So I'm going to be using a word called compression in lieu of depression. I'm going to explain why. So, as such, in our culture now, depression, whether it be clinical depression or spiritual depression or just depression, however you call it, has been stigmatized, pathologized, and really put in a place of almost like shame, like people are ashamed. There's a lot of kind of hidden behaviors around this label. Okay, so the way that I think of compression is that as beings, so all beings, and including planets, animals, spiritual, all beings, okay, go through a very natural process of expansion and contraction. Okay, so we expand and then we're like, woo, and then we contract. So the contraction is what I call compression, right? Because it sounds a little bit like depression. And what I understand and what I believe and what I live is that this is natural and it's a wonderful process if we understand what it is and that there's nothing wrong with you. Okay. So just like there's nothing wrong with an animal when they don't feel well and they just kind of take off, they're by themselves, they chill, get away from all the noise, and they heal themselves. Just like when a planet expands, it then contracts. There's other sciencey language around that. However, I prefer to speak in very basic terms so every person listening to this understands. So it's just the idea of expand, grow, and then contract, go in, right? Mm-hmm. And then again, you expand. This is a process and it is eternal. Okay, so you're an infinite, eternal being, and there's nothing wrong with you when you compress. Okay, so just by the redefinition of this term, you become lighter. And enlightenment, which is another term I have issues with because it sounds like it's like, okay, I'm enlightened. No, it's forever. Enlightenment just means lightening up. So even just lightening up the term depression, and I'm going to get to spiritual depression, changes it because you understand, number one, this is natural. The plants do it, right? Think of the seasons. If you're living in an environment that has 4 seasons, right? There are no flowers in the winter. We go in, we come in, we hunker down, right? And then the spring, we sprout, we blossom. So this is a natural process. Now, this is not to say that the symptomatology of compression can't totally suck. And we're going to talk about that. Yeah. So before you get like worked up about that, we'll get to that. This is first a definition. So moving forward in this podcast and in everything I speak about, I always say compression, knowing that every being goes through this to expand. You expand, you contract, you expand, you contract. You can think about it also like a infinity sign, right? So it's the figure 8 on its side. And this is natural. Once you understand there's nothing wrong with me, even this, if this sucks, even this is caused by extreme trauma, we're going to talk about that. There is a light at the end of this compression, and it's natural. And this is not to say that medication is a bad thing. Absolutely not. This is not to say that you should be pretending that you're not having negative emotions. No, this is just a redefinition of expand, contract. Does that make sense, Nick?
Yeah, it makes sense. No, I get it. Like life has its ebbs and flows, and there's moments where we are feeling really great about ourselves, but then there are periods, just like the seasons, where there's like hibernation, and it's all purposeful in life. And it's up to us to determine during that time period where we're in retreat or we're in compression, what we're supposed to be doing. It allows for self-reflection. It allows for introspection, but it's all purposeful. And just like you said, it's not that during that retrospection or introspection time period, it can't be painful. It certainly is. And some people find it to be more painful than other individuals. And that's what makes us all very unique. And that's what makes us all on our own individual path in finding that expansion that comes back after introspection and compression. But it's the simple realization that we will all have periods in life where we will have compression, we will have a lot of introspection. That period can be very, very painful to us, but it is there for a purpose for us to then expand into a feeling of enlightenment, or like, moving forward in our life, and can give you truly an exponential growth if that compression period is used in the right manner.
Correct. And again, perfectly said. Again, just to reiterate, just the idea that, someone listening to this and who's been beating themselves up, like, what's the matter with me? I have all these amazing things in my life and I'm sad, or I'm angry, or I'm disappointed, or I'm ashamed. There is nothing wrong with you. Just so you understand that you're, number one, not alone. Certainly not. The animals, the planets, all the humans, all beings go through this, okay? And it's interesting because people say, oh, well, this is new and this is harder on, this generation and this. Now, I have a few things to say about that. Like, first of all, it's not new. And, Thoreau said, I think in like 1854, the mass of men, we'll just say people, lead lives of quiet desperation, right? So we didn't have the social media, we didn't have the technology, so everyone knew that, oh, they feel like that too, oh, they feel like that too. So this is not new, number one. Number two, paradoxically, the fact that we have the technology and we know that this person on the other side of the world feels the same way I do, it also separates us because we don't get outside and put our feet in the grass as much, if at all, or in the sand or in the dirt. We don't move our bodies as much. We don't take in vitamin D naturally. We take pills. Right. So there are a lot of issues with the technology as well, and we'll get to that. However, this has been going on forever and will continue to go on, and there is nothing wrong with it. And knowing that it will end and then it will come again, meaning it's a process and you can totally master it, will give you relief, I hope.
Right. That makes sense. So tell us a little bit about what your thoughts are on the spiritual depression that many of us, I feel, go through in this lifetime. Some never even recognize that they're currently in that process, and unfortunately will go their whole life not feeling like they're fully fulfilled. However, that leads to just a lot of pain, a lot of agony, and we're meant to wake up in this lifetime and get out of that spiritual depression. So what are your signs and definitions of, hey, I know that person is going through a spiritual depression?
Yeah. So should we do just kind of the physical, how do you know if you're spiritually depressed first?
Yes.
Let's start with the basics. Okay. So kind of what it feels like. First of all, again, I'm not a medical doctor, and these are all my beliefs. Also, everyone is different, as Dr. Nick said, and I hope I said also. These are generalities, and I love that everyone's different because you're all wonderful and authentic, and that's your only job here, is to be you. Remember that. So I made up a word called flomp, which I call flompily, and I'll tell you why to define this. So basically, when we're born, it's a clean slate, and life is meaningless, right? It's just a blank, clean slate. We forget everything, and we begin again. And so we begin to accrue beliefs from, our family, our friends, our surroundings, our teachers, animals, whoever. And that's wonderful most of the time. Sometimes not so wonderful. Well-meaning people may kind of, we may have false beliefs, which I call you're a belief thief, right? So words tend to have a lot of baggage. So as we just discussed, depression, I don't use that word. I use compression. For example, when I left my first husband, who was the love of my life, my first love, I never used the word divorce with our then 3-year-old. She didn't know what that meant, the word, because it just holds a lot of heaviness. So the reason I created flompily is because things like, certain words feel heavy even when you just say them, okay? So flompily, my definition of flompily is when you just don't feel good. Okay, I know this sounds basic, but so many things are so simple and we make them complicated. Our lower minds do. So we're born to feel good. It is your birthright. And again, we just discussed how we do go through compression, right? We have times that don't have to be very long. I'll teach you how to do that, where we compress for sure. However, your natural state is joy. Okay. Now, joy doesn't have to be jumping off the walls, enthusiasm, like running around with your hair on fire. It can be just calm, peace. It can be ease. It can be a knowing, a focus. When you feel, other than that, when you feel, mostly what I hear is people feeling alone, Dr. Nick, empty, afraid, fear, feeling like they're misunderstood. No one understands them. That kind of physical drop in the stomach, the butterflies, the feeling that something is missing. You may be a CEO and, have a Learjet, and I'm describing stuff in physical third density Earth. However, in our culture, at least in this culture in the United States, people look at that and go, well, they're successful. So when people say that and you're on the cover of Forbes and then you feel empty and you feel like you're missing something, oftentimes clients who come to me with those life circumstances, they're like, what's wrong with me? All right. And then that goes back to what we originally said, the umbrella of compression. You're compressing, feeling you're missing out, right? So you can be, FOMO, fear of missing out, and kind of a like ruminating, frantic energy. So energy is a wonderful thing. How you focus it based upon your beliefs is essential to conscious creation. So does that describe well enough spiritual depression?
Yeah, to me it does. And I, being a medical doctor, can clearly differentiate that spiritual depression from clinical depression, which for people out there is there's a criteria that has to be met. But some of those symptoms that you feel in clinical depression are due to an actual chemical imbalance that has gone on in your brain that can be due to genetics, that can be due to trauma that's occurred. And overall, it's a nervous system dysregulation. And symptoms you're going to feel for that are numbness, complete feeling of shame at times. You'll feel this persistent sadness. The thing that will be popping up in your head is, I can't get out of bed right now. I just feel like nothing is making me happy anymore. And you will occasionally maybe suffer from some sort of suicidal, ideation. So it's important for us to really understand the difference between those two. And I think you can get a clear picture on the spiritual depression versus clinical depression. Whereas in spiritual depression, your goal is to have like a soul level reset, and truly you need to be connecting to a purpose in this lifetime that your soul is telling you that is missing. You've been misaligned at some point in your soul's journey into what it is that you need to be accomplishing, compared to a clinical depression where you don't feel safe in your body and in your surroundings, and there needs to be a body reset that's occurring so that your nervous system is able to start feeling like things are going to be okay. And so I read somewhere that 80% of the people in this world don't feel like they have a purpose. And I was really shocked to hear that, because that means that 80% of the world are suffering from a spiritual depression. They're not achieving what they are meant to be achieving when they first enter this world. And like you said, when we come to Earth, we are feeling this sense of joy. We have this happiness that is running through our babies' bodies. And then all of a sudden, we start being taught these beliefs from our parents, from our environment, from the news, from the media. And we just start living by those rules. And oftentimes those rules are driven by what society thinks is successful. And what society thinks is successful is you having a big house, you having a lot of money, you having big cars, you having this very superficial lifestyle that is deemed to be successful. And we see it on social media all the time. But the thing that occurs is, and I can speak for myself, is that along the way to that journey, I was becoming a doctor and I was feeling so incredibly excited because for me, there was a purpose of healing others, and I knew that from a very young age that I wanted to heal. I wanted to help. I didn't know what that would look like, but I was directed to becoming a doctor because that was the one thing back then that I knew was a healer was supposed to do, was supposed to become a doctor. So I did that. But then along the way, I went through a lot of trauma. My mom passed away. My dad got sick. Then all of a sudden you start feeling this pain and you have trouble processing pain because who likes to process pain? It's very uncomfortable. Our nervous systems don't like it. We will do everything in our body to run away from it. We were trained to back when civilization began, fight or flight mode. When these big saber-toothed tigers came into way, our bodies were meant to look at it and run. But over time, it just became hyperactive, and then perceived threats became very painful. And when all those things occurred, I realized that I'm not liking where I'm at in life right now. I feel like me working in the hospital isn't making me emotionally satisfied, but I know that it's bringing me a good amount of income. I have a nice big house. I have a couple nice cars, and I feel like I'm living the dream that people told me was a dream. And so instead of spending time like processing some of that compression that was going on, because when that compression hits, it's painful. I was like, I need to run from this. And so oftentimes what many people do, they numb it out. And now that's either doing some sort of substances, drinking alcohol, or for me initially, that was working more, getting out of that like whole mindset of like, there's pain, but I need to just keep pushing through that pain instead of I need to sit in this compressive situation and understand that these are warning signs that you need to do something. And so that, I feel, Taylor, is the most difficult thing that people have trouble doing, is actually sitting in that compressive time period and introspecting because of the pain that occurs.
Okay, let me jump in here really quickly because I love everything you said. But let's just give everyone a huge, huge sigh of relief because what you just said is true. And I'm going to say something that it will blow your mind. So I hope, I know.
I'm always blown.
So the sitting in it, so the compression, here's the deal. So I did train in psychology, and what I was taught and what you hear socioculturally is what you just said, that like it's going to take a long time, it's going to suck. And I mean, different people say by the way, I think it's more than 80%, but based upon what I see in the world, and I talk to a lot of people every day, I travel, I'm talking about talking to strangers and clients and just friends. I'm talking to people all the time. I think it's way higher than 80%. Most people, I think probably that 20% is just didn't fill out the survey or whatever. But most people believe that they are not worthy, all right? That they are not good enough. And I don't care what their resume says. I don't care how big their house and what, it doesn't matter. So, and I could give you hundreds of examples, which I won't because this is a podcast. But the point is, if you understand what I say right now and you choose it as a belief, which is all you need to do, because the pain is a signal, beta, belief, emotion, thought, action. The emotion is telling you, you have a messed up belief. That's not true. And the way I mean not true is it's segregated. So the way I define false belief, right, is that it segregates. The way I define positive belief is it integrates. So that doesn't say that everything I say is true and you suck, so I'm going to kill you, which is what's kind of going on in the world right now. What I'm saying is everything that integrates, meaning that's cool, that's your belief, I don't prefer it. I believe this. Have the best day ever. That's what I'm talking about. Everything is valid. Choose what you prefer. The bottom line is your compression does not have to take 10 years. It doesn't have to take a year. You get to choose. And now some people prefer a process, and I'm not going to take your process away from you. As long as you prefer to suffer, you may suffer. However, it always comes down to you in the end choosing, I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of doing this drug or working all the time. And you just choose it. So you know people who've done this. It's called cold turkey, right? In our culture. I don't know how they did it. They just stopped smoking or they stopped drinking. Well, the way they did it is that we're a brand new person in every single moment. All right. So you are recreating. There is no such thing as a stuck energy. It can't exist. It's basic physics, simple. Energy has to move. When you feel stuck, you, Dr. Nick, I, Taylor Wells, anyone listening to this, it's just because you're running the energy like this in a loop, right? And who knows why? You can analyze it if you want. However, the bottom line is the universe, the multiverse doesn't care. It's just going to send you what you believe. So if you believe, okay, this is compression, this sucks. Again, I'm not suggesting that you're in compression and you say, this doesn't hurt. No, it's important that you feel the feeling and then more importantly, find the belief that's causing it. So the belief is you're not good enough, or, you know, you have all this, but you still feel empty. So something's wrong. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. And I was just thinking about when I was in my situation and I felt like stuck because I knew that I wanted to become this entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to create this application that was going to make it fun, easy, and rewarding for people to donate. I had all these thoughts about it, but I was like, I'm not trained into doing this. I don't have any experience in doing this. So why would I be able to do it now? How am I going to be able to do it? And so all these fears start coming in, especially when you're misaligned with what you're doing currently. And those fears that come in, or those thoughts that come in, they just trigger your fight or flight system to go on to overdrive, release more cortisol, cause more brain fog, and keep you in this repetitive toxic cycle, which then causes you to do things that aren't aligned for your best interest. And eventually it can keep going and going. And all of a sudden it's years later and you're like, wow.
Yeah. How did I get here?
How did I get here? It's all of a sudden I'm like 40 and I'm like in the same situation I was before, if not worse. But this part right here where you're listening and you're feeling like, hey, something doesn't feel right. I know that I'm in a situation where I'm not feeling fulfilled, but I'm too scared to do anything about it because I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of rejection. I'm afraid of what other people are going to think. Those beliefs that you have, those have to be changed. Those have to be centered. You have to ground yourself into a present moment, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the most important thing to me, is grounding yourself in the present moment. As Taylor has eloquently said, who you are right now is different than who you were yesterday. And that
a minute ago.
And that is so important for people to understand, because part of your spiritual depression or depression in general is that you're caught up on something that has happened in the past. You haven't let go of that. There's some guilt, there's some shame, there's some anger that's still there. You feel like because of how you acted in a traumatized state doesn't make you worthy of being who you think you're capable of being. And so
should we talk about that for a second? So that because this we can so the past isn't real. Okay, so basically everyone's heard this, but no one really gets it because they're not unless you're living it, you don't understand it. So please hear this, and if you get this, you're free. This right now, I could keep saying it forever, is all there is. The past is actually a different dimension. It's not real because everything is now. That's one of the 5 universal rules. One is the universal laws, which you can't break. You exist, number 1, you always will. You change forms, you're eternal. Number 2, everything is now. Number 3, what you put out comes back. People call it law of attraction. Number 4, the all is one and the one is all, which is why when you go to non-physical, you have a life review and you feel every single thing that you have caused another being to feel in this lifetime. And it's in an instant. You don't do that because you're being punished. You do it because we're all one. That's why killing people makes no sense, or hating people.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. And the 5th law is everything changes except the first 4 laws. So the point is, everything is now, meaning that is another person. It has nothing to do with you unless you choose to ruminate and bring that to this canvas, this now, and go, here it is, here I am. And the universe looks at the canvas and goes, okay, that's who he is, or that's who she is.
Yes.
The universe doesn't look back. It's not even real. Okay, it's a made up concept. It's a made up, it's the experience is real. Okay, so but it's not physics. It's not physics. So what Dr. Nick is saying is totally accurate. People come to me and they go, but I did this, or I said that, or I didn't do this. And I say, I don't care. Who are you now? And who do you choose to be? But I can't do that. Why? Why not? And Dr. Nick, you're hitting it on the head. What most people fear is the how and what people will think of them. So first of all, you have no idea how, because you're thinking from your lower mind. Your lower mind cannot create anything. Okay, it has never created anything, and it never will. It's your higher mind who does that, right? So Dr. Nick had these great ideas last night, which he texted me this morning for this podcast. And I said to him, that's your higher mind. When you like have something all figured out, but then at the last minute, it's like, no, let's do this. That's your higher mind. So when you're in this low state and you're like, boo hoo, I suck. No one, I'm not good enough and all this. You have no access to that, right? You're not in that place. So you will not get that thought. So the truth is, you just say to your lower mind, I have no idea, but I'm doing it anyway. That's it.
That's right. And I think people need to recognize is that, yes, there's a past, whether, we want to ruminate it or not, that is our choice. But if you heal that past and get yourself to the now, and then start projecting out the thoughts and the emotions and the actions for who you are now and who you want to be, the universe will eventually put that reality in front of you at some point. You can't
not eventually, immediately. But it might not be in the way that you think it will be. That's the key. Okay.
That's the key. That is the key to understand. And where these issues start occurring, where you're talking about the how, you're right. Like, it's just about understanding first what it is currently, right now, as you're listening to this podcast. What is it that's making you happy? What is that? What is that feeling that's coming up for you that is making you excited to want to do something? That's it. That's your focus. It has to be right there. Then it's just about taking some sort of bold move or action towards that. And then understanding that it is going to just be a little bit of a process. There may be people that say something to you and try to distract you. And it's so important during that time period where you're tuning out that noise and you're tuning into what your soul is asking you to do. Because that is the power that resides in you, that is telling you, keep going. Tune out everything that's blocking your path to your highest fulfillment. And if you do that, I promise you, you will get yourself out of this little spiritual depression, compression that you are in, and you will get to that expansion. And when I mean you'll get to that expansion, you will literally like skyrocket. For people that don't know me or haven't known me for years before and now know me, or my friends that have known me in the past and they see me now, they feel like I'm a completely different human being. And it's just incredible because I took that time during that compression period to understand what it is that I'm supposed to learn from this process or this time period. And once I went from the mindset of being a victim to being yeah, this is incredible. Thank God everything has happened in my life as it has, all the
Yes.
things, all the good, all the bad, because I wouldn't be able to be in the mindset I'm right now and being this empowered, being in my soul's calling to be able to move forward with such confidence. Thank God.
Thank God. And that's a perfect segue into when Dr. Nick said, to kind of compress and heal that. Now, I just would like to say a piece there that some people may hear that and be like, oh God, I don't want to do that. And I remember Philippe, my handsome husband's dad, who's in non-physical now, saying one time, we were raw vegan at the time and we were doing some like cleanse and detox. We're like, you got to do this green juice cleanse with us to detox. And he goes, I don't want to detox, which is very funny. And yeah. I think back to that sometimes. So sometimes people are like, I don't want to go through with that. Here's the deal. It doesn't have to take a long time. Now, if you prefer it to take a long time, have at it. Okay, I'm not going to take that from you. However, you get to choose. And again, well-meaning people, in many medical fields, psychology, psychiatry, have done really wonderful work. Some things, just like, I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm the excitement whisperer. There are so many wonderful teachers out there teaching very similar things. Find someone who resonates with you. The reason why there are so many messages and so many teachers is because there are so many people who resonate with different permission slips, I call them, because ultimately you are healing yourself 100% of the time. Now, what you can kind of garner for some excitement or hope from is a very simple process you can do, like right now, is say, okay, I have this emotion. It's beta, belief, emotion, thought, action. So I have this emotion. I feel compressed, okay? And, I don't feel like getting out of bed. I feel worthless. I feel not good enough. All that good stuff that I hear every single day from everyone, by the way. So number one, you're not alone. Number two, it's valid. Number three, it's natural, right? We went over this. Re-listen to this podcast because your brain needs to hear this multiple times because you've been told the opposite for your whole life, okay? So I sometimes listen to stuff multiple times because it's holographic. Even things that I will leave for my clients because I channel for their higher mind, I'll listen back and be like, damn, that's good. And I imprint it, okay? Because you choose what's here. And, people say, oh, we only use 20% of our brain. No, we use 100% of our brain to believe that we only use 20%. You will attract the information and the help that you need in the moment, okay? In the moment, you will get it. You have guides, you have spirit guides, you have angels, you have extra dimensionals, you have people in non-physical, you have everything helping you. But remember, when you're in that low place, they can't reach you. So here's one question you can ask yourself, all right? Talking about the past. Did I do my best? Did I do my best with where I was and who I was? And did I do my best? The answer is yes, by the way, because you did. Whether it was a total mess up, you did your best. Second question. Did I learn? What did I learn? Yeah, I learned blank, 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 all right? Now you're on the path. Now, here's a key. Imagine you're walking on a sparkly path, okay? Stones. And you're on a step right now. And the step is, I'm compressed. Now, you just cleared a couple things. You're like, I did my best. And I did my best. And I am in this now moment choosing to feel better, right? But in that moment, a lot of my clients do this. It's messing up step 4 of my conscious creation. They go, why am I here? Why do I feel compressed? I've been working with Taylor. I thought I was doing well. I have a big car. I have everything. Why do I feel this way? And when you do that on that step, you guys, you cannot step forward to the next step. Okay. Now I did say that energy isn't stuck, but actually you're ruminating, you're reality looping on that step. Here's the pro tip. I have cracked this code. This is all you have to say. Write this down. Ready? I have no idea why or how, but I know that this serves me and the greater good. That's it. That's all you have to say. That covers everything. You don't have to know why or how, but that will catapult you to the next step because you cannot step forward until you validate where you are. When you don't validate where you are, when you judge it or judge others, or as Dr. Nick said, when you are use self-victimization, blame, complain, justify. We all do it. Okay. When you just say, I have no idea how, I have no idea why, I feel like crap, by the way, you don't fake it. Now that messenger, the pain goes, all right, he's got it, she's got it. They have a lot of work to do. Off they go. Then you ask, what is the message here? Then you're going to get it. If you stand there going like this, why am I here? I thought I was doing better. I thought I was a spiritual person. You cannot step forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. It's about empowering yourself and asking questions and seeing, how we can move forward with clear light, clear mind, clear focus. And I really resonate with what you're saying about, did my past serve me, and I did as well as I possibly could have to get to where I'm at now. Just like when we think about our parents, there's often times where we get upset or frustrated at them, but you know what? They did the best that they possibly could, given the state of being that they were in the environment that they were in. You have to just forgive them for other aspects of maybe they didn't tune into what you needed at the time. But again, they did the best they could. And you did the best you could to get to where you're at now. Now, there's no excuses going forward after hearing these words of why it is that you aren't going after what makes you happy. There should be no excuses.
Well, you can make an excuse if you want to suffer. So again, it's free will. So if you want to suffer, yeah. I say it like that because some people really do argue for their not if they come to me, they don't. Like right. Now, another thing, what did you just say? Your parents. So another thing you can also remember is that you chose your parents. You chose everything. Everything is self-induced. Everything you bring to yourself. You chose all this. And what does that feel like? Empowerment. Because if you chose it, you can choose something different. If you're a victim and you believe in the illusion of power, if I change him and her and this and that, well, then I'm going to feel good. You're screwed because you can't do that. What you can do immediately is utilize the power of illusion, which is what I just said. I have no idea why I'm here, how I'm going to get out, what, blah, blah, blah. But I know I'm here for a reason, and I know I chose it, and I'm open to why. I said it a little differently. You can say it in your own words. And then guess what? That UPS driver who's like standing at your door trying to give you a package, when you're shut down and you're like, why is the doorbell ringing? Why is the doorbell ringing? Why is someone knocking? But you don't open the door. How are you going to get the package?
Yeah, you have to be ready to receive. Very well put. As we're kind of wrapping up this podcast, you've obviously dealt with a lot of people that have come in with this internal crisis, this spiritual depression, this mental fog that they've been suffering from years, sometimes decades. What are 3 things that you can give advice to for those that are going through that to help them realign themselves with who they are and to be able to actually move forward from that fog?
Yes, thank you for asking that. So I'm going to give a couple more than 3 if it's okay.
Of course.
So,
steps.
All right. So number 1, get off your phone. I don't want to hear anything about this. I don't want to hear excuses, not completely, obviously, but start where you are. If you want to start with 5 minutes first, so I'm talking about right when you wake up. This is not what you're going to do when you wake up. Okay, tomorrow morning, take this step immediately. So start where you are. I'm going to tell you that I have built a very strong practice in the morning. So at this point where I am, which I don't expect you to do tomorrow, and I wake up very early, I do not look at my phone for 3 to 4 hours. What I do is I personally do practices that align me with my higher mind so that I have the foundation for the day. Now, you, depending on, your situation, your sleep schedule, your friends, family, animal situation, etc., your health, everyone has different things going on, okay? However, you may choose immediately to take a little break, 5 minutes, start with 5 minutes, work up. I promise you, you will not miss anything. You will only gain peace of mind, clarity, calm, etc. So that's number one, phone. Number two, so this is starting tomorrow. Number two, because it's always now, find a practice that works for you. I obviously am a huge fan of yoga. I went through my own stuff when I've been through many things, but one thing I can tell you right now, which is a quick, easy story, is I met the love of my life when I was 17 at Brown University, the first day of orientation week. And in fact, synchronistically, my first best friend, I have many best friends from college, is visiting me today from DC. And we both pointed to the same person, and she said, "You can have him." And apparently there is a movie coming out right now, or being filmed, called that. So anyway, I loved him very much. We were together for many years. We got married after 7. We had a beautiful daughter. 10 years later, I found yoga. It saved my life. It changed my life. I have been practicing yoga every single morning since then, over 25 years. I've never taken a day off because it makes no sense to not practice. So that was a very challenging experience. Anyone who's gone through a divorce, and my yoga practice truly saved my life. And there were moments where I would go into deep fear. And I remember one specific time we were on Cape Cod at some pond. I went into fear around this huge thing that was about to happen, which was I was the lever, I guess you would call me. I dropped down onto the sand and just started meditating because I knew I needed to quiet my critic, who was saying, "What the hell are you?" I was a graduate student, right? I had no income. I had a 3-year-old daughter. I had no plan. And I didn't have a lot of support around this decision, I'll tell you that. So that's why I love to support people now. So find a practice that works. You don't have to do yoga. If you do prefer to do yoga, I have an academy online that is now free. And my whole Prana Power Yoga practice is there. So that excuse is gone. Okay, you don't have to pay anything. It's up there. Number 2, you can meditate. You can go for a walk. You can, as a practice, you can journal. You can adjust your sleep schedule. So maybe you sleep less or sleep more, whatever works for you. So number 1, get a practice. Number 2. Number 3, ground yourself. Get outside and walk on the earth with bare feet, whether you're in grass, whether you're in sand or dirt. Even if you're in a city, they have parks. Put your feet on the ground. Okay, this is really important. I also have earthing products that I sit on. I don't sit very often, but when I'm sitting on it. I have a mat I sleep on. You can look into that. It's all over the internet. Okay.
Just to add to the benefit of doing that and putting your feet on the ground, there's been numerous studies that have come out that have shown that it decreases the viscosity in your blood, which allows for the blood flow to go faster and oxygen to be delivered at a much rapid pace to all your organs. And so there's true benefit that occurs when you are putting your feet to the ground for at least 10 minutes and enjoying what that feeling is like. And also, as studies have shown, that it switches your hormones to be in a more calm state of being, and it works with the vagus nerve and making your parasympathetic part of your nervous system activate, which is your rest and digest. So big benefits of feet on the ground.
And there's a new study, I just saw it in my email box when I was on Nantucket last week. I haven't read it yet, from Earthing. You can go to earthing.com with specific science about all that and more about, athletes and how they perform, et cetera. Honestly, I got hooked on the Earthing products when I was teaching at a conference 15 years ago in LA, and they were, they had a table and they're like, "Can you try this and fill out the survey?" And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Oh God." And it totally blew my mind, and I've used it ever since. So check that out. Also, you guys, what's the other thing? Oh, water. So just add water. So if you live near any kind of body of water, whether it be a lake or a friend's pool, your pool, the ocean, anything, get in that as often as you can, especially natural water. But if you can't do that, that's fine. If you have none of that, get in a bathtub. I took baths before we moved to Barrington, Rhode Island. Now I'm in the ocean. I was in the ocean right before this podcast. My hair was wet. I would take baths every day because, for babies, like if you've ever, worked with babies or had a baby or have a niece or nephew, if a baby's kind of fussy, right, you just add water. Like you put them in the tub, they're happy. So water, anyone can do that. Two other things, you guys, food. So there's a lot of stuff out there about food. I'm not going to get into it, but it's important to tune into how you feel after you consume something. One thing lately that I have forced myself to eat, and now I love it, is avocado. So I eat one whole avocado every day. And I didn't like it because I had eaten too many of them when we were raw vegan. I kind of got really sick of them. But avocado is great. Almonds, really good for your third eye, opening that in your mind. Last thing is gossip. So come on. So when you gossip, you definitely get a rush, right? It's like really like satisfying in the moment. And then think about it. You feel so bad if you're in tune. If you're shut down, no. Yeah. But if you're open and you're doing this work, you're not going to feel good, right? It's like a pebble in a pond. So first of all, don't beat yourself up. Second of all, catch yourself and just stop it, because how you speak about others, right, is a reflection of you. And if you're speaking about others in that way, don't you think they're doing the same to you? That's what made me finally realize. I'm like, wait a minute, I can't be doing this. So actually, one more thing, animals. If you have like a kitty or a dog or any kind of pet, I personally find that if I just hang around I have a cat and a dog, a cat purring, come on. Or your dog, just so happy to see you.
Yeah. So
it's not,
I love all these things, and all these things are letting you know that it's important for you to get yourself grounded. And most importantly, I think the biggest killer right now in the world is distraction, right? And then it's about getting ourselves away from distraction and figuring out ways how we can be in the present moment, because in the present moment, that's where we can make our realities turn into whatever we want them to turn into. So grateful for your time today, Taylor. This is such a big topic for people to understand, like, what is this fog that I'm in, that I've been in for such a long time? And if we term it with something like called spiritual depression and compression, we're now understanding what this is. And more importantly, we now realize that this has a purpose for it. And it's for us to be able to break through it.
And it's natural.
It's natural. It's parts of life, ebbs and flows. So thank you. Thank you for those who are listening, that are out there. Until next time, peace.